Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita why he comes to earth. Yada yada hi dharmasya, glanir bhavati bharata, apyutanam adharmasya, tadatmanam srijami aham. Krishna incarnates on schedule in different days of Brahma, in different periods of Manu, to assist the demigods, and specifically to promote the principles of religion while curtailing demonic influence. And it can be interesting, Krishna has different categories of incarnation. It was mentioned in the purport that Srila Vyasadeva is addressed as the personality of Godhead. This category of incarnation is called a Shakti Avesh. Sometimes a living entity, a jiva, is uniquely imbibed and imbued with the potency of God, especially when there's some great task to be performed. And we've seen this in the history of the world, personalities like Jesus Christ, even personalities like Buddha, among others. They are uniquely empowered agents of the Lord. And because the Godhead empowers them directly, sometimes they are identified as God himself. In the Vedic tradition, we rightly understand that there's a distinction between the Lord and his servants. But then again, Krishna incarnates as a servant and worships himself occasionally, and so it can get a little tricky. But whatever the case, Srila Vyasadeva is the incarnation of God in the age of Kali. And Krishna's activities are so significant, they're so broad, that he has to incarnate to explain himself. So Krishna is the subject, he's also the speaker. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is so highly valuable. It's this distilled, what we call rasayan. When someone falls unconscious, you have to administer a medical application to resuscitate them, and that's called rasayan. This bhakti rasayan is the nectar to resuscitate the sleeping living entity back to a wakeful condition of God consciousness and immortality. So we are broadly establishing this knowledge, and the sages in Amarshanya were anxious to establish someone actually qualified as their speaker. They had taken a vow for thousands of years of continuous sacrifice in the forest. And the sages of Amarshanya are calculated to be inquisitive, pious souls, but their conclusion was not exactly fully established. And so they needed some help in establishing the proper course and direction of the sacrifice. And this theme is developed further as the text progresses. And they rightfully established Suta Goswami. Suta Goswami is the son of Ramaharshan, and as famously explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramaharshan was gifted with all kinds of blessings. Blessings of long life, blessings of wisdom, self-control, discipline. Unfortunately, this Ramaharshan was lacking in one characteristic, and that was humility. And so one day he was lecturing on the Vedanta, as one does, and Lord Balaram, who was on a pilgrimage, happened to wander upon that place in the forest. Balaram had consciously objected to participate in the battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna also objected. So Krishna's method was to become Parthasarathi, the chariot driver of Arjuna, and not lift a single weapon. Balaram's case was a little different because he was actually affectionate to Duryodhana, who was on the opposite side of the battlefield. So his method was to go on a great pilgrimage, and during the pilgrimage he wandered upon these sages in the forest. When Balaram entered that arena, everyone stood in respect, except for Ramaharshan, who was lecturing and who had become puffed up. And Balaram, to set the example for society, he took a blade of grass and he actually killed the sage with a blade of grass. And everyone in the assembly was aghast. Oh no, you've killed a Brahmin. You are the protector of religion. What happens when people in general follow your example? And so Balaram said, my dear sages, don't be worried. If you like, I can bring him back to life. It's not a problem. And the sages said, well, Lord, we don't want to counteract your verdict. At the same time, we gave him all these blessings, long life, knowledge, and we have to execute these principles of religion. The age of Kali is approaching. So we wish that our blessings will also remain intact. And so they arrived at a compromise. The sage had a son, Ramaharshan Suta, And so all the blessings that were formerly endowed to this Ramaharshan were transferred to Ramaharshan Sutta, who henceforward was known as Sutta Goswami. And he was gifted with long life so that he could deliberate and explain this knowledge for many, many years at a time. And very fortunately, this Sutta Goswami is now positioned favorably as the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he heard the original message with rapt attention way back on the banks of the Ganges when Shukadev Goswami had arrived at the place of King Parikshit, who was fasting until death. So this knowledge is coming in succession. Our succession is actually one of not initiation, but siksha, teaching. If you analyze the 32 members of our Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, the succession is one of siksha, or teaching, because strictly speaking, the line of succession doesn't follow initiation. So our entry into the succession may not be through formal initiation, but if we're actually able to capture the message as it's coming unbroken, we can inherit all the benefits that every other member has inherited. There's so many stalwart personalities, thinking just off the top of our head, Madhavendra Puri, Narottam Das Thakur, Jiva Goswami, Baladev Vijayabhushan, Vishwanath Chakravarti, personalities like Gorkishore Das Babaji, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. These entities have all made very significant contributions to the parampara, and now we can inherit all these different treasures. It's not that this knowledge was always broadly available. After the disappearance of the 6 Goswamis, there was a great task at hand, because the next generation had to collect their books, all these different extrapolations by Jiva Goswami and Rupa. They had to be duplicated and published, and at that time there were only single volumes of each. And so their students, there was a generation, including Srinivasacharya. Their job was to duplicate and publish and widely distribute the works of the 6 Goswamis. And they had a great task, and they encountered many problems. So we are very fortunate. The knowledge is still coming into cyclic succession, and is now widely available. And so it is our great opportunity. Prabhupada said that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is competent to spread Krishna consciousness all over the planet, but it is his kindless mercy, it is his causeless mercy, that now he left a little work undone. Some work still remains to be accomplished, and so that is our opportunity, that we can also have some standing in spiritual life, and we can help our fellow man become free from the burden of material existence, which people carry without profit. There's no tangible profit to this material existence. It is a thankless task. So thank you for joining us for class. Please subscribe below, and I'll see you next time. Hare Krishna.